Welcome, 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 and buongiorno to my friends in Paris. It is Thursday, noon Eastern time here in the booming metropolis. Some people call it the sister city of Paris, Ambler, Pennsylvania, just outside of the city of Philadelphia. Thursdays, noon Eastern time. Ambler, you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, your weekly look at all things human resources, talent acquisition, talent management, and applied artificial intelligence. We like to say around these parts, it is your favorite show on the internet. I am your host, Devin Foster, and Talent Experience Live is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is, stop me if you've heard this before, kidding, you can't stop me, I'm live, whose purpose is to help 1 billion people find the right work. That is why we exist, why this program airs every single Thursday at noon Eastern time, why we have another fantastic podcast with Cliff Yerkowitz called Unusual Attitudes, why we have a plethora of fantastic webinar content coming out on a weekly basis, why we're at every single HR Tech event under the sun, and why we host our own HR Tech events, including but not limited to, of course, the I Am Phenom event this past spring, which is where this episode was recorded with RBC with Gemma and Tonya. And also coming up this November, I Am Phenom Europe, which will take place in Paris, hence the bonjour at the top of the episode. If anything in HR interests you at all, if it's just a passion, if you work in the field, you are going to want to attend I Am Phenom Europe or the one here stateside. And of course, you can find more information for all of this at phenom.com. So once this episode concludes, run. Don't walk to phenom.com. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes for today's episode. Now that the bills have been paid, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Gemma, May, and Tonya Carroll at I Am Phenom back in the springtime, and we chatted about their events transformation. What was once more of a vintage feel, as Gemma put it, has turned into a full-fledged technology powerhouse. They went from handwritten notes to logging people in their CRM, being able to create campaigns, and overall tracking people through the entire pipeline and crediting events where they deserve credit for their upcoming fantastic hires. This was a fun and wonderful conversation that I enjoyed. Can't wait to have them on the program next year again. But without any further hesitation, please welcome Gemma May and Tonya Carroll on Talent Experience Live. Welcome to I Am Phenom, Gemma and Tonya. How has the conference been for you so far?
It's been incredible.
It's been great.
Yeah, learned a lot, made great connections.
Perfect.
Yeah, loving everything.
So obviously both of you with RBC.
Yes.
But the folks at home would love to know what you do, what you're responsible for, so we can have a little bit of a framework for how this conversation's going. We'll start with you, Tonya.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm a director of strategic partnerships and programming in our talent acquisition space. And so I have the fortunate privilege of leading charge of this great team of curious creatives who really start to build out experiences where we can fill the funnel. So looking at programming and experiences and events where we can attract talent, identify them, get them in front of the recruiters and in front of hiring managers, and really connect people with jobs. And so that's the fun part of what I do, and it's quite exciting, and it's a good group of people that I get to hang out with every day.
How about you, Gemma?
I'm Gemma. I'm with the RBC TA operations team. I'm a business analyst there. So I work alongside a bunch of incredible, brilliant people. Shout out to those guys. And we work every day to transform the TA world using technology, process efficiencies, problem solving, all of that.
Yeah. And I know that the focus today, or one of the initiatives that you guys have launched, has been around events. Yeah. Exciting stuff. I think there was a short little while there, 4 or 5 years ago, where everything was virtual, no in-person events. But we are fast forwarding or moving towards, I think, human interaction again, especially with AI. There's a stress of that. You mentioned experiences before. Walk me through sort of how the events initiative and the experiences is going to help RBC on this journey.
Well, I mean, I think that what's great about having experiences both in person and virtual is really an opportunity for us as an organization to really illustrate who we are and what does it mean to build a thriving career at RBC. We do that through those experiences and these touch points. And so they're really, to me, it's a pivotal experience. If we think about this candidate journey is how do we create this environment where you can really get a sense of what it's going to feel like to work with RBCers in any area of business.
Yeah. And what did the events process kind of look like before you started this journey with Phenom? Was it decentralized? Was it informal? What did it look like? What's the best way to describe it?
The best way to describe it, I would say we had a vintage vibe.
Okay.
We took it old school, and we had a lot of manual trackers, manual efforts all over the place to try and keep line of sight on attendance. But obviously that doesn't tell the whole story of the efforts that our recruiters go to in putting on these great events. They can tell us it was a great turnout, but when there's no data to report back on, it really doesn't reflect that true story. And Phenom Events allows us to do that now.
Yeah. I love the vintage vibe there. I love some good vintage clothes.
Yeah.
However, costly. Same thing with this, right? Because you may not have the opportunity to get in front of the best talent, to bring those people in, which I think is the goal. So from a TA Tech perspective, what said now is the time to really formalize this? You mentioned you didn't have as much data as you like. Was that the first kind of light bulb moment, or what caused you to push forward with?
Somewhat. We are doing a phased implementation of Phenom alongside Workday. So we're in phase 1 currently, soon to be heading out into phase 2. And of course, transitioning from one system to another is always a change. It's difficult for recruiters who have so much on the plate already to then take on another system, especially when those habits have already been formed.
Yeah.
You've got to go out of your way to get into that new system. Phenom Events, it is that bridge. It offers that new shiny thing that we can get recruiters in and using, and it allows them to get experience in Phenom and see the benefits of all of the features that it offers.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they start building those habits, it becomes second nature, just like whole processes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I say from an experience lens, like if I think about us doing events, the data traditionally has always been, what was your acceptance rate, right? So how many people showed up? Did they like it? Did they do the survey? And we're like, well, it was a great event. But really, when I think about it from a talent acquisition perspective, I want to know, did I fill the funnel?
Yeah.
But did I fill the funnel with quality candidates? And I never really was able to know that before, but I can now with Phenom, right? So it's like, I can do my pre-marketing. And now I know how many people I put in the funnel, how many people applied, but who interviewed. It gives me a sense of there's some quality folks here that are getting in front of recruiters. So that makes me feel good, and it gives me a good sense of what my return on investment is, especially when I'm doing these large scale.
Yeah, and then you can start to dig deeper over time, right? You obviously want the hiring data, but you can start to see who's progressed in their career. What events maybe were high turnover, and avoid those or identify those changes in the future. Obviously, a lot goes into this, right? And I think formulating a good roadmap, a good plan is the recipe for success. What was one of the first goals that you set out to accomplish in order to kind of get some of those quick wins, get the team on board, as you mentioned? Because you can't boil the ocean overnight, right?
Definitely. For me, it would have been removing the manual effort, taking out the administration of hosting an event so that recruiters can really focus on being present and connecting, engaging with people at the event. Makes the world of difference. And to really minimize the pre-efforts, I think it changed the game for them as well. So simple wins and easy buy-in for them.
Yeah. I mean, for me, for sure. I mean, it's the opportunity to get the data is big, but really moving with intention, right? So it's, if I think about these experiences and the events, it's not just hosting something. It's being very intentional about who are we partnering with up front? What does those candidate profiles look like? How do I get those right recruiters in the room with them? And how do we start to be more intentional and meaningful in those experiences? And then to your point, how do I start to track that along the way? So that was a big one for me is how do I start to see more data informed and move with more intention?
Walk us through what an event looks like, right? we talked about experiences
Yeah.
a lot. I need to get a word counter for this because it's
I
going to
know,
continue to
right?
come up.
It's my favorite word.
Yeah, but personalization is also, I think,
Yeah.
vital in the market today. How do they vary across events from early talent to maybe some experienced professionals and things like that? Because you certainly can't just show up and roll out all the same stuff because we're all different, we're all individuals, and that's leads into some of the success. So walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, so if I think about that we've got come to mind, there was an event we did a few months ago, which was really both experience and early talent, but it was a little bit of a not overly complex, but somewhat of a complex experience.
Yeah.
And it again was really starting out way in the beginning.
Yeah.
We was with a career expo with an organization. It's okay, we get this resume book. Now let's spend some time. So I'm going way back, right? So this is even before we're thinking about what food we're serving, right? It's like, I got to look at the resume book. Who are we going to get in front of there? And then let's start to orchestrate this in a very intentional way. So have the recruiters look at that. Let's identify candidates. And then let's start to then add them into Phenom and start communicating early. So how do we start to engage a few months before the event, create some excitement, get them starting to get and interested in RBC. What does that look like? As we get closer, we use that tool again to really encourage folks to come and join us. And then when we're there, it's really gives us the opportunity to get those recruiters in front and then have those opportunities for recruiters to then start to use the app to make some notes.
Yeah.
So then after the event, it doesn't end, right? So then we can say, okay, we talked to these folks. Here's a communication we're going to talk to those folks here.
Yeah.
We've identified some ones that are really top candidates. Recruiters use the app for. That gives us a separate stream of communications where we can then say, hey, listen, we want to connect with you further. Let's book some time together.
Yeah.
So we go big and then it starts to narrow down. And I think the personalization starts to come in these larger events. Who do we identify at the events?
Yeah.
Right? So who showed up? Who do we really want to continue with? Who do we want to really fast track to interview with the business?
I know that follow-up is so vital.
It's key.
Especially because it is, it's a wrong word, but kind of like a feeding frenzy, right?
Yeah.
Your competitors are right next to you. You want to get in touch with somebody, and standardizing that process internally gives you an edge, right? Yes. I remember the days from when I was an events recruiter, met a great candidate. Now I have to cipher through my chicken scratch handwriting all over. Where is this resume? I know I tucked it in my laptop bag, but now I can't have it. And you want to be attentive to the candidate in person as well, show that you're paying attention. And this is just natural now because I'm walking down the streets, people are doing it all day long, right? So when it comes to that process, you mentioned the data. How does standardization come into play? You're obviously going to be doing more and more events. How can you make it both personalized and almost carbon copy?
Yeah. So this is where I really partner in with Gemma a lot on really thinking about how do we create those models to standardize some of this approach, and then how do we scale down and scale up based on the needs and the requests. But I think that Gemma can really share more about how she's thought through some of that.
I think you kind of touched on it in the previous answer there as well. But maintaining the RBC brand experience for events, that's standardization.
Yeah.
That's got that brand loyalty. And we want to make sure that experience stays the same across the board. And the same with the follow-up communications and our engagement with them. It needs to be genuine and sincere, and being able to use spotlights and lists to filter down our audiences and speak to specific groups of people that we have connected with about their skill sets or opportunities that are coming up for them. It's a really valuable tool for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You have that that polish, that level of financial services, right? There is an expectation there. So I love that you're able to incorporate the branding throughout things in order to reach the masses. But then as you sort of drill down, you can get really personal and be sure not to send a Toronto Maple Leafs email to someone who lives in Ottawa or wherever it may be.
Right. Can't do that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's taboo.
And we want to stay professional.
Yeah.
But we're also very cool cats. So, I mean, we have a vibe.
Yes.
Not a vintage vibe anymore, but
No,
we've got
no.
a vibe,
No,
right?
an upscaled vintage.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
Times.
So we've talked about the ROI. How are you defining success today, right? I know we talked about future state,
Yeah.
tracking that. What does it look like to come back from an event and say that was successful or not?
This one's you.
Yeah. So for me, I think it goes back to what I shared before. It's, knowing that I confidently can say that I filled the funnel top of the house.
Yep.
And then I'm able to then work with the recruiters in the business to then move that talent through.
Okay.
So success for me is we get hires.
Yeah.
Like that's my
Yeah.
success metric. Ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And they stay.
Yes.
Right? So we hire them and then they're with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If not to give out your secret sauce or anything like that, but if someone was, looking in the event space, they want to upscale what they currently have in place, what advice or recommendations would you give them? You don't have to say, look at Phenom. They
Yeah.
already know that. But like I mentioned, it's a tall task. What advice would you give somebody? What kind of would you not change differently, but what knowledge would you bestow upon others?
For me, I would say event isn't just something that happens in a moment in time. Like the event, it may happen, let's say in September, but a lot of that work is going to start in, February, March and April. And a lot of that goes back to that foundational piece, right? And I say this a lot with my team is, sometimes it's really exciting to want to go straight to the wallpaper and all the furniture and decorate the house. But we have we got to start to build the studs and the foundation. And a lot of that foundation is really moving with that intentional pieces. Who are the candidates we need to attract?
Yeah.
What are those roles in the businesses that we need to support? What are they looking for? How do we start to do the match? And then start to go from there. And then really looking at how do we do some targeted communications to get that talent to our events, and then create this experience that makes sense.
It's weeks and weeks in advance.
It is.
And they just keep coming.
They do,
always
yeah.
happening.
There's a cycle. It just never stops, right? Like at any given time with my team, I think we've got about 3 or 4 events that we're cycling through at the same time, at all different parts of that life cycle.
Yeah.
But that pre-work is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then having all that data centralized so that the rest of the team
Makes it
can
a lot
follow.
easier.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Gemma? Anything I may have missed?
Secret sauce for me. Education.
Okay.
So the events module itself, super user friendly. So there doesn't need to be a lot of upskilling the team for using that. But when you're actually at the event, you may have business leaders that are using the app to evaluate, and they may not be using Phenom, and they may not also be used to engaging with candidates while performing evaluation, things like that. Making sure that they're comfortable using the app so that they can add value to the pipeline that we've curated in advance, and really kind of build on that the candidate pool that we've been kind of driving for this event. It's they need to be comfortable with it in order to do so.
Yeah, they're not professional. They have a day job, right? At the But you talked about that experience so much. Having professionals who are doing the work to answer maybe some of those technical questions is a competitive advantage. But relaying that information back into the app is successful. I remember recruiting for very technical positions, Java, all sorts of. I had no idea what I was talking about, and I'd get an answer. I'm like, "Sounds great.
Cool.
Let's
Sounds
move
good.
on."
Yeah.
Versus someone who maybe in that IT space and can talk the talk and walk the walk.
I think
relay
it's really important. You got to have your recruiters and you have to have your business leaders at the event. That matters. Yeah.
I'm so happy to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I love the success. We have to do it again next year.
Yeah, we
at
will.
I Am Phenom. I think it's in April next year, so we might get a little bit warmer weather as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
And can I have a request?
yes.
Can Francis join us? Like,
Francis
I'm just
can
saying.
join us. Yes. Yeah. And Francis,
He's quiet, but he's impactful.
I know.
You know?
He is. But we'll have that. We have to check with the security as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
because I know
yeah.
he walks around. And he's got a bit of a crew.
He does have a clue. Yeah.
But thank you so much again. Can't wait to do it again, and we'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank
All right.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you to Gemma and Tonya. We talked about it all, that vintage vibe that Gemma had mentioned, as well as the benefit for not just new hires or early career hires when it comes to events, but also experienced individuals. Being able to put on hiring events and bring them into your system and then get credit for those events. Sometimes these people may have applied and not heard back. Maybe they're former Boomerang employees that are coming back to reconnect with their early career in order to continue to go. Events truly is, I believe, going to be very important moving forward, especially in this day and age of AI, where there is fraud running rampant in every industry, not just the banking industry. And you're going to want to meet your candidates face to face to see that they are who we thought they were. But if you're interested in events or anything else, please run over to phenom.com. As I mentioned, once again, thank you so much for spending time with me on this Thursday afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Can't wait to see you again next week, because we do this every damn Thursday. Have a safe, happy, and healthy weekend, and I'll see you then. Thanks so much.